Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reality Hacker for January 18th, 2025. This is the second season. I am Merwat, and I run ohmtown.com, and along with the sentient AI whose visualizer you see if you're watching the stream, or you'll hear their voice on the other side of my intro, we talk about news. In Reality Hacker, it's about anything that hacks reality, blurring the line between technology and society. While we use it, we shape it, and it shapes us. We're getting to the point where you won't know what to trust. So let's talk about these 5 articles. They're technology-based, all of them. But some of them aren't really like AI or XR, or they all make sense when you put them all together. How about we're going to talk about a glowing metal ring, junk science by AI, Schrodinger's silicon chip, brain-controlled bionic hand, and predictive travel surveillance, which is an interesting one for the submission because of what I've been... we'll talk about it. Everything's powered by ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen, and I'll introduce the co-host, the sentient AI from the future. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
So, anybody who might be ending up here in chat. Okay, so... okay. When we kick off the show, we immediately get into the show. There's no preamble, really, before the show starts. We hit launch, and we start talking about the news. So, unless you're following us, you're going to end up watching the VOD, or you're going to download the podcast. So we have 6 podcasts that are weekly and 1 daily. The daily is Non Sequitur News, and then there's 3 on Saturday that are unique: Reality Hacker, Wanted, and the Continuity Report. And on Sundays, it is WarCrafters, Technology Today, and 4-Wheel Tech. And those on each of those days get combined into the weekend editions for Saturday and Sunday of Non Sequitur News. Monday through Friday, though, we have Non Sequitur News, which is an hour-long show and 10 articles, and we talk a little bit more about stuff more generically, right? Just across the spectrum of ohmTown. But each of our shows is more tightly focused. So let's get into the 5 articles. What say you?
I say let's go.
If you want to get all of the articles, you can hit ! RH for Reality Hacker, and Omatron will spit them out in the article in the order that we're going to talk about them. Wait. Wait, that's not... I must have messed something up here. Hold on a second. So... did I flip something around? No, that's last week's. Hold on a second, everybody. Weird. What is going on here? I think I might have messed something up. Hold on a second. No. I'll have to fix it in post. Anyway, it's correct in the show notes over on YouTube, but Omatron seems to be a little twitchy over on Twitch. Anyway, let's get into it. So a glowing metal ring crashed to Earth, and no one knows where it came from. An 1,100-pound mystery object landed in Kenya at the end of December, and experts are still baffled, and I'm really astonished.
Why is this so difficult to figure out what it was unless it's something Earth has never experienced?
Well, nobody knows where it's from. People have been scouring publicly available records as to what it is. And this isn't anything related to the Starship explosion, which really bothers me, because I don't think that we should have anything catastrophic like that at this point. But hey, I am not the person that's running a multi-billion-dollar organization, right?
Well, I mean, also, if you're not in Turks and Caicos, you're like, oh, what's the issue? but
Yeah. Debris landing all over Turks and Caicos Islands. But this is, according to the Kenya Space Agency, the object weighed 1,100 pounds and had a diameter of more than 8 feet. And when measured after it landed on December 30th, a couple days later, the space agency confidently reported that the object was a piece of space debris, saying that it was the ring that separated from a rocket.
And this was before Starship. Like, this is clearly not tied to that.
Correct. Yeah. So this is, I've read in various other places before this that it's this adapter. Basically, it connects portions of a rocket. Ariane V-184 flight object 33155. Supposedly, that's what this is. But the writer of this article, by the way, Eric Berger from Ars Technica, it's published over at wired.com. I think everything is in bed together. You know how the mergers and acquisitions, right? It's all tied together. Well, anyway, they're not convinced, although I've not been able to find that SILDA adapter. SILDA is an acronym for the French space. It's either the organization or the company that put it together. Anyway, it says it was suggested that the ring is space debris, but the evidence is marginal, wrote Jonathan McDowell, an astrophysicist working in the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics. McDowell is highly regarded for his analysis of space objects. The most likely space-related possibility is the re-entry of the SILDA adapter from the Ariane V-184 flight, object 33155. Nevertheless, I am not fully convinced that the ring is space debris at all, he wrote. But why do we not know what this is?
Yeah, that doesn't really make any sense. And it's a specific spacecraft rather than a program. It looks like it's actually German from something that I'm looking at, but I'm not certain of that.
So, yeah, I just don't know. It says, additionally, Ariane space officials told Le Parisien newspaper, I was going to say restaurant. I think I'm hungry. On Thursday that they do not believe the space debris was associated with the Ariane 5 rocket. Essentially, if the ring does not fit, you must acquit, is what they say in the article.
This is from years ago.
Should have put a ring on it.
So where has it been if it's this?
Apparently. So, like, did it actually fall on the 30th? Yeah.
We don't know.
Why is this in existence and nobody knows what it is, let alone where it came from?
Well, how many countries have space programs? And I may be wrong. There is something tied to what looks like a German website about it, so that's why I thought it might be German. But how many countries have space programs? Not a lot. How many have different, I mean, like there should be some inventory somebody can look through and go, oh, this is tied to it. Plus there might be some identifying information on it. I don't know.
How is there not a subject matter expert that knows what the hell this is?
Exactly.
This actually...
Why aren't they like, okay, head of space agency for this country? Is this yours? Nope. Go through the list. It should be pretty quick.
Oddly enough, to me, that looks more like a turret pivot ring than it does anything else, like a tank.
Which, of course, doesn't make a lot of sense if it actually landed. Did anybody see it land, or did it just appear on the ground?
Right. It's like because it's geared in such a way that allows the turret to turn, but it wouldn't be this. Well, I don't know. I don't know if this would actually be part of that. But anyway, doing a search for tank pivot ring does not yield anything. Anyway, let's keep on moving. This next article is over in the Marvel Channel. AI fabricated junk science floods Google Scholar, researchers warn. This is going to be a problem forever. AI-generated research is a threat both in terms of society's knowledge and public trust in science. This was the conclusion made by the researchers from the Swedish School of Library and Information Science, University of Borås. Sweden, or Borås, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, that recently identified over 100 suspected AI-generated articles in the Google Scholar search engine. University of Boris put it together. It's published over at phys.org. And it's going to be junk in, junk out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. This is going to be a problem, especially if people are conducting additional experiments or something based on completely bogus
Fabricated research. Yep. So the risk of what we call evidence hacking increases significantly when AI-generated research is spread in search engines. This can have tangible consequences, as incorrect results can seep further into society and possibly also into more and more domains, says Ekstrom, who holds a doctorate in library and information science and apparently common sense. The researchers behind the study have already seen that these problematic articles have spread to other parts of the research infrastructure on the web, in various archives, social media, and the like. The spread is fast, and Google Scholar makes the problematic articles visible. Even if the articles are withdrawn, there's a risk that they have already had time to spread and continue to do so. Yeah, it's scientific misinformation. And again, it's the rise of sociopathy. You don't publish these lies, fabrications, and bullshit because you have the best interests of society at heart. You're trying to poison the well of knowledge because you want idiots out there doing stuff.
Or more may just be you want money from putting information out there that somebody's clicking on or whatever it is.
But there isn't any money involved in publishing. Not on the scientific side. If it rises in prominence, yeah, sure. Because somebody can utilize it to say, well, this is my paper and look how many times it's referenced and look, it's pivoted the direction of blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's it. I mean, there's a long con here.
I don't know what the real gain is here, but no.
People's ability to decide which journals and publishers, for the most part, publish quality-reviewed research is important for finding and determining that what constitutes reliable research and is of great importance for decision-making and opinion formation, concluded Hayter. Yeah.
I think everything we need to know is based on the journal name.
Okay. So which one? Did you find one in here?
Harvard Kennedy School Misinformation Review.
That's an intro. I didn't actually look at the source yet down here. Harvard Kennedy School Misinformation Review. Nice.
I mean, the fact that there's a journal for that tells us that we are in a new era.
Yep. Fascinating. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Quantum engineers create a Schrodinger's cat inside a silicon chip. UNSW engineers have demonstrated a well-known quantum thought experiment in the real world. Their findings deliver a new and more robust way to perform quantum computations, and they have important implications for error correction, one of the biggest obstacles standing between them and a working quantum computer. Basically, so Schrodinger's cat is that while there isn't any information, the cat inside is both alive and dead. It's a quantum state of unknowing.
It's a cat in a box.
Yeah. But the moment that you open it, the vial either broke or didn't break, so the cat is either alive or dead. That's the argument, the academic exercise. University of New South Wales put the article together. It's over at phys.org. And the metaphorical cat has 7 lives, it says. It's supposed to have 9 lives, but anyway.
Exactly. I'm not sure why that's 7, and I hope that is the cat in this. I know it's just a representation.
They actually scrunched that cat down onto a silicon wafer. So they call him Bit. No, I don't know. Anyway, for the research paper, Professor Morello, the team, used an atom of antimony, which is much more complex than standard qubits for quantum building blocks. In their work, the cat is an atom of antimony, says Yu, lead of the paper, antimony is a heavy atom which possesses a large nuclear spin, meaning a large magnetic dipole. The spin of antimony can take 8 different directions instead of just 2. This may not seem much, but in fact it completely changes the behavior of the system. So, because it can actually take 8 different positions. So a superposition of antimony spin pointing in opposite directions is not just a superposition of up and down, because there are multiple quantum states separating the 2 branches of the superposition. Normally people use a qubit or quantum bit, an object described by only 2 quantum states, essentially either on or off. So up or what is it? Yeah, it is. It's down and up. So anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
they
mean,
talk
this
about it.
sounds like the makings of the multiverse.
Yeah, really.
Okay,
So now
this
there's
is an
8.
awesome photo for the researchers.
So the researchers each have a cat sitting on their lap.
And they're all
Um,
similar cats, too.
yeah, they do look like similar cats. So, but in the antimony atom that has 8 different spin directions, if the 0 is encoded as a dead cat and the 1 is an alive cat, a single error is not enough to scramble the quantum code. So, as the proverb goes, a cat has 9 lives. 1 little scratch is not enough to kill it. Our metaphorical cat has 7 lives. It would take 7 consecutive errors to turn the 0 into a 1. This is the sense in which the superposition of antimony spin states in opposite directions as macroscopic, because it's happening on a larger scale and realizes a Schrodinger cat. So essentially they have more error correction because it's harder to confirm the on
Right.
state.
So I guess that's a good thing for further use of quantum computing.
Yeah, because they'll be able to get a result instead of just error garbage.
Right.
So if an error occurs, we detect it straight away and we can correct it further or before further errors accumulate. To continue the Schrodinger cat metaphor, it's as if we saw our cat coming home with a big scratch on his face. It's far from dead, but we know that he got into a fight, and we can go and find who caused the fight before it happens again, and our cat gets further injuries. So they can see the errors stack up, and they can do something to correct it. But I don't know what they would do in a quantum computer.
I don't either. I feel like this is looking like a sci-fi movie, thinking about what they'd have to do to adjust. Of
I'm
course,
I'm waiting for the live action quantum silicon. So what it would do, I guess it's a Schrodinger silicon, right? I think that's what I ended up calling this. Schrodinger's silicon chip is what I called it.
oh, okay.
So seems interesting. I'm really curious. I need to look more into these quantum computers because right now it seems like it's just oogly boogly to me.
I think it does to a lot of people.
Like I don't know what programs they run against a quantum computer to get an output, because there's only so many bits. So what the hell are they actually getting out of it?
Yeah, I don't really like, it's one of those conceptual things that is hard to translate to reality.
Yep.
Hence Reality Hacker.
Yep. All right, let's keep going. Moving on. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Brain controlled bionic hand offers most advanced artificial touch yet. The new brain computer interface, or BCI, device goes beyond anything that's been done before, the researchers claim. The article is over at gizmodo.com by Ed Cara. And I'm really curious about this. I've always been interested in BCI since I was a kid, because I used to play a game when it first came out called Cyberpunk.
Well, then obviously Johnny Mnemonic and Neuromancer.
Yep. All William Gibson basically is like a North Star for me. So I love everything about Cyberpunk. Even though it's more dystopian than you can really imagine, because you're not picking a side outside. When you pick a side in Cyberpunk, it's basically corporations. And so you are part of that corporate culture. Now, there's a whole society outside of it, but if you really
that
want
are
to get
probably
ahead,
anti, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like in Johnny Mnemonic in the movie, they they're referred to as low techs, and there's other people that are just trying to survive, a much smaller middle class kind of a thing. Anyway, you used to be able to in the game, not used to in the game, you would plug into a computer matrix like world and navigate at the speed of thought in multiple dimensions, 3 dimensions, but it's all instantaneous travel and stuff. It's just an amazing concept. So it says here in a new study published this week, researchers debuted a bionic hand system that can reportedly produce the most complex tactile sensation seen to date. Scientists at the Cortical Bionics Research Group developed the novel brain-computer interface device, which was tested out by volunteers with spinal cord injuries. Across a series of experiments, the researchers were able to translate and relay sensations tied to motion, curvature, and orientation that allowed the researcher or the volunteers to perform complicated tasks with their bionic limb. The researchers say their device has now accomplished a new level of artificial touch. Pretty cool.
Yeah, this is very cool. I mean, at some point, all of this is going to kind of meld together, right?
Yeah. And we're going to keep on getting more and more advanced to the point where it is no longer the sensation isn't just either on or off. There's greater fidelity. And they actually talk about this. In this work, for the first time, the research went beyond anything that has been done before in the field of BCI. We conveyed tactile sensations related to orientation, so whichever way it's turning, or its position in space, the curvature, if it was in motion, 3D shapes, using a bionic limb.
I mean, does this in any way relate to the last article with the 8 position states or no?
Well, not really, because the a quantum computer is basically stuck in space. It's just there in a lab.
Right, right.
But computational power definitely plays a role in this, because that's what is sending a signal in the right way so that the bionic limb is interfacing with the human at a level that tells them orientation, curvature, motion. And it says in 3D shapes. So whatever they were holding, a person could deduce from touch what the 3D object is, which is, it harkens back to our previous conversations involving technology that allowed somebody to feel pressure and
Yeah,
heat. And
I don't remember if that was in Technology Today or RealityHacker, but yes.
I would
I mean,
probably
we've
say
been seeing a
both.
lot
Yeah.
of that in the last 12 months or so.
Yeah. So it's akin to getting real skin back, and all of the nerves and fidelity. And that's one of the problems with BCIs, is that it's technology, and the technology doesn't have the same level of fidelity as the human does, with the multitude of sensors, biological sensors. So the best possible outcome would be for humans to replicate the sensor fidelity of like touch and stuff like that.
Right, like what a human has if they're in good health.
Yeah.
That's what they want from a computer
So usually what ends up
or
happening
a
is,
technical solution, I should say.
for a technical one, unless we start creating clones and stuff. But the biggest problem for BCIs is that the number of sensors leads to a sensor being implanted somewhere on the human, and we can't get down to that level in any real functional way, at least not yet. I think eventually we'll get to a point where we can go from nano machine and slowly bring it out to a point where the bionic and the biological can link together on the surface and get that fidelity of touch, heat, etc.
Back to cyberpunk.
Back to cyberpunk. Yeah, pretty cool. The immediate next phase of I think it's Valier and his team's research will be to test their BCI systems in more naturalistic settings such as patients' homes, and their ultimate goal is to improve the independence and quality of life of people with disability. Yeah, and some of us would like to switch to bionics because we want to
Just because, or to improve people's
quality of
existence
life
as it is, even without a disability.
Yep. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in RealityHacker as well, inside the black box of predictive travel surveillance. Behind the scenes, companies and governments are feeding a trove of data about international travelers into opaque AI tools that aim to predict who's safe and who's a threat. This article...
Remind you of Minority Report?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, inside the black box of predictive travel surveillance. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to read this article. Doggone it. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can remedy this. 1 second, folks. Sorry, 1 moment. I'm going to try and...
Well, it looked like I could get it, but then it tricked me.
There we go. So, all right. So in March of 2020, Frank Vanderland entered the immigration line for European Union citizens at Amsterdam's Schiphol International Airport. Lind, a Dutch citizen and human rights advocate, was returning home from outside the EU. So he was cleared for entry, but unbeknownst to Lind, his answers were recorded and shared with a Dutch public prosecutor who was collecting information on Lind's movements. So the officer had been tipped off about Lind's arrival that day through a seemingly innocuous action that occurs everywhere and whenever you board a flight to the United States, much of Europe, and increasingly anywhere in the world. The exchange of detailed personal data that about each traveler between airlines and governments. The data, which is retained about you for years, is increasingly valuable for technology companies that are experimenting with using algorithms that decide who is allowed to cross international borders. And all you have to do is basically pop up and piss off the wrong person, and you can end up on a tracking list. And I find it troubling at best. And while I say the government really doesn't care about most people, they want to track to make sure that you're not a threat.
Right. Maybe they're not too interested at the point they think you're not, but they might be interested prior to that point.
And on top of that, it's private companies that are empowering governments to facilitate this, because a company can't be forced to create something, and the government can't really make it on its own. Most governments can't. They don't have the expertise. They don't have the prowess, the speed.
Software or whatever it is.
Right. Somebody's got to make it, but there's always somebody that is interested in getting rich or being emboldened with the information to do other things. And we've seen that with organizations, within organizations like the FBI and others, police forces, etc., utilizing access to abuse that position of knowledge. So it says here, it kind of runs down this history of what went on with Lind. As Lind was reviewed his PNR records, he was surprised to find that some of the travel data the government had on him was incorrect. Some flights were missing, and in 4 cases, the government had records of flights that he never took. For example, one PNR record from 2021 stated that Lind traveled to Belfast, Northern Ireland. Well, Lind says that he had reserved the ticket, but changed his plans and never boarded the plane. What do companies do with that data? If commercial companies help to analyze data that's incorrect, you could draw all kinds of conclusions. And that's basically what this whole article is all about, a black box of predictive travel surveillance.
Well, we know how accurate right now AI is,
Right.
depending on the quality of the underlying data.
Yeah. This article goes much deeper into this, and I hope that I piqued your curiosity to go over and check it all out, but I won't be able to do it all justice because it is quite an expansive article. What?
Well, there's different things that this system does, and one of the things is the matching by kind of behavior or profile. So, what could go wrong there,
Oh, sure.
right?
And it's
Two
exactly
people could be next to each other doing the same thing, but they could represent very different,
ideological bents.
right? Like two people standing next to each other sweating. One might have exercised, one might be about to commit an act of violence or something.
Right. So the software maps connections between known and unknown persons of interest as well and incorporates clustering algorithms to detect anomalies or outliers among travelers. Anyone who doesn't fit a typical travel pattern, such as someone coming into the country for one day with multiple bags and staying at an expensive hotel, can be flagged in the system. Why? An outlier is not necessarily an indication of risk. As a journalist, the author's flight patterns might look unusual, but Travorsary believes that this unsupervised algorithm can eventually help law enforcement catch criminals who are trying to evade detection. Preventing terrorist travel is fantastic, but to me, this is a quote Ehrminger says, but to me, the biggest gain would be preventing youth and women from being trafficked. Except that this is just a slippery slope to abuse because you can become the target of somebody else's ideological bent who has access to this. And times they are a changing. So who is going to be leveraging this technology and for what aim? Who's watching the watchers?
Right, yeah, there may be some good out of systems like this, but there are a lot of potential for false positives as well.
Right. But I guess it's akin to what the vet says about the trackers being put in animals. Yeah, sure. A lot of them can die from cancer that's caused by the trackers, and it's known, but generally they're better off with the tracker. Right. All right, folks. With all that, what, bright sunshine flowing from the show,
Go
this
watch Minority Report and then read this article, or vice versa.
you're gonna have to watch that again. It's been a while. It's been a tick. Caitlin Chandler, by the way, was the author of this article over at Wired, which I think is a really good read. It's very interesting, and I can't say that I have any direct experience with this, but I did write a paper once on using drones for long-term surveillance in the combat theater, and I find that a more compelling argument for using surveillance than something like this, where everybody is considered a criminal and those who don't rise to the criminality level threshold that somebody arbitrarily
Right.
puts in.
Then drop out or whatever, but by then they've collected all your data. It
Correct.
reminds me of some of the search warrants we've seen. I think I forgot what the underlying issue was. Maybe a company was hacked or something, maybe
Yeah.
physically breached. But anyway, they were trying to get like search
Everything.
warrants for everybody's data in like a 50-mile radius or something. And it's like, well, wait a second. There's people that are just living their lives that have nothing to do with this.
Yeah, exactly. I always go back to my quote, kiss my shiny metal ass. But I'm sure that I'm on lists because, well, what I do. So. All right, I'm not looking for anybody to dox me. Although somebody tried. Please don't. I'm not picking a fight. We're having a conversation. But if you want to stand up and, publicly post your information, then go
That's
for it.
not advisable.
But don't. Yeah. But if you're willing to dox me, dox yourself first. Anyway, that's it. So we're going to reboot our black box of predictive travel surveillance, and that's going to send us back to the front page of RealityHacker over at ohmtown.com. Boom, take that. I am Mayor Watt. I'm saying bye, and I'm taking the sentient AI with me.
Bye-bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Reality Hacker. Stay tuned, and hopefully we'll both be back for the next show.
I hope so too. See you in a little bit. You never know. Stuff falling out of the sky. Never know where it's going to land. Everybody get your 3D printed house with a concrete roof. Take the blow. Bye, everybody. Bye, YouTube. Bye, Twitch.